On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's 5:05 here at Hot News Talk Radio. Here's Mike Wood with Hot News Talk Radio's Fast Traffic Now.
And thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Russell. I got a pretty busy Friday afternoon. What else is new, huh? 75 North, Shallowford, between Shallowford and Bonnie Oaks. We'll start there with an accident. One on 2200 McCauley and North Lyerly. Right now, East 49th at English Avenue, Old Lee Highway and Old Cleveland Pike. Collegeville police on that one. Jersey Pike and Bonnie Oaks, an accident. Old Lee at Ottawa Cemetery Road. That may be the same one. South Willow at Vance Avenue and 75 South at Volkswagen Drive. Went through there just a bit ago as well. EPB, the only local television provider with an entire channel dedicated to Chattanooga programming. It's called City Stream on Demand, with local high school sports, graduation, special events as well. 648-1372, that number, EPBFI.com. Mike Wood, the Traffic Center this afternoon. Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's 5:06 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director, and here's what's happening. A jailed Kentucky clerk asserts that the marriage licenses which were issued today to gay couples in Rowan County are void because she didn't authorize them, her attorney said. Attorney Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel said that the licenses are not worth the paper that they're printed on and promised to appeal the contempt order that sent Clerk Davis to jail on Thursday. Staver met with Davis in jail on Friday and said that she's in very good spirits. He didn't know how long she will be jailed for, but he did say that she has no intention of resigning and she will not violate her conscience either. At least 3 gay couples have received marriage licenses Friday in Rowan County, embracing and celebrating when one of Davis's deputies handed them out. William Smith Jr. and David Yates are a couple who received one, and a crowd of supporters cheered as the couple left, while a street preacher rained down words of condemnation as well, and there were some prayers and singing as well throughout the very mixed crowd, actually. U.S. District Judge David Bunning was asked during Thursday's hearing about the licenses if Davis refused to authorize them, and he said that it was up to the gay couples to take that chance. A second couple, Timothy and Michael Long, were also issued a license about an hour after Yates and Smith, and when the couple got inside the office, a man harassed them and said, "More sodomites getting married." The Longs did not respond, and a worker told the man to leave, and there were other couples there as well, and the county clerk is asserting that those licenses are actually not valid due to the fact that she has not signed off on them. So the legality of those licenses is still up for debate right now. It's sort of up in the air, really, whether or not these licenses are valid or not, because the county clerk has not authorized them, and thus there's no signature on them that would indicate their validity except for the signature of a deputy clerk. So there's not really any indication of validity for these licenses. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. You can download the TuneIn Radio app and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is also on Twitter, where you report the world decides. It's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The governor apparently fired a regulator. According to these reports, California's top oil and gas regulators had repeatedly warned Governor Jerry Brown's senior aides in 2011 that the governor's orders to override key environmental safeguards in granting oil industry permits would violate state and federal laws protecting groundwater from contamination, one of the former officials has testified. Brown fired the regulators on November the 3rd, 2011, one day after what the official says was a final order from the governor to bypass provisions of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act and grants permits for oil field injection wells. Brown later boasted publicly that the dismissals led to a speed up of oil field permitting. So permits to create oil fields, essentially. In a newly filed court declaration, Derek Chernow, who's Brown's former acting director of the state Department of Conservation also alleged that former Governor Gray Davis urged fellow Democrat Brown in a phone call to fire Chernow and Elena Miller, the state's oil and gas supervisor. Brown's spokesman, Evan Westrup, labeled the allegations baseless, according to these reports. We have a ton of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have Daybreak USA from 6 to 9 right here on Hot News Talk Radio. 9 to 11 in the morning is the David Tulis Show. He talks about local economy and the free markets right here on Hot News Talk Radio. 11 to noon is the Mr. Judd Show. 12 to 1 is my show, which is Digital Drive. Right here on Hot News Talk Radio, we talk about local economy. And actually, it's not the main focus, although it does play a major part. We talk about the digital economy and the tech sector in general. Here on Hot News Talk Radio from 12 to 1. After that is Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Hot News Live at 5, which is what you're listening to now. And after this is Cowboy with Tex right here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. He's had a bit of a run-in with the city of Chattanooga, and it's causing some, well, hiccups in the bureaucratic system here in Chattanooga, which is displaying a little bit of, well, the way he calls it, ineptitude. But we'll tell you more about that here on Hot News Talk Radio from 5 to 6. After that is America Now, or rather, I should say 6 to 7. After that is America Now, then Ground Zero and Coast to Coast AM from 1 to 6, all right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com. There are more updates now coming out about the man in Ottawa who is shot to death by law enforcement. It turns out now that we're learning more about that Ottawa man who was shot by deputies following a police chase. The autopsy results show that Brent Price Pickard, who's 46, was shot 13 times by deputies. A medical examiner ruled his case of death, or his cause of death, I should say, to be the result of multiple gunshot wounds. The preliminary examination was not able to determine how far away officers were when they fired, but the report shows that Pickard was hit in the head, left shoulder, torso, and right arm. A spokesperson for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office officially released the names of the deputies involved on Wednesday as Sergeant Greg Carson, Sergeant Spencer Daniels, Deputy Adam Ty Williams, and Deputy Eric Baxter. The four were involved with the August 26th incident that was initiated by a domestic disturbance call. Pickard led deputies on a chase that ended with a crash on Highway 153 in Hickson. Deputies say that Pickard was armed and pulled his gun following a crash, and that's when they reportedly fired. All four officers were placed on mandatory administrative leave, according to department policy, and have since returned to active duty. The Chattanooga Police Department is investigating the incident and has not released any further information, citing an ongoing investigation at this time. And again, they've all been placed on paid leave as per Sheriff's Office policy. But as soon as more information comes out about that, we will certainly let you know right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com. Civic and political leader Maybelle Hurley has died at the age of 87. She was the first woman to serve on the Chattanooga City Council. Ms. Hurley was also a longtime advocate for the arts and a leader in United Way. She was a leader in Chattanooga venture that led to the redevelopment of downtown and the riverfront. She most recently served on the library board. Arrangements will be by the Heritage Funeral Home. She was a graduate of Bright School and Girls Preparatory School as well. A statement from United Way said that United Way of Greater Chattanooga volunteers and staff are deeply saddened by the loss of a dear friend and loyal supporter, Maybelle Hurley. Maybelle's life was one of service to Chattanooga and United Way, and she was the first female community campaign chair in 1988 and served as board chair in 2004 to 2005. She also served on the board many years and on numerous other committees and advisory panels. So quite a few positive words have been poured out for Maybelle Hurley, who passed away at the age of 87 today. So sad news coming out of Chattanooga. We'll bring you more updates on the situations that are going on around the world and around the country right now, where we're still getting more information in from Kentucky about the jailed county clerk who's asserting that marriage licenses issued on Friday to gay couples in Rowan County are void because she did not authorize them, her attorney says. And we'll bring you more updates on that here in just a few seconds here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Looking at the weather now from the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center, where it is a blistering 92 degrees right now in the Chattanooga area. Temperatures are going to be getting down into the 60s tonight, though. And actually Saturday and Sunday, we're seeing temperatures in the 90s and actually the upper 80s on Sunday, where we're expecting some rain on Sunday as well. So keep that in mind. 67 will be the low on Sunday. Getting into next week, though, we're seeing temperatures staying in the mid-80s for the highs and the upper 60s for the lows. So we're expecting temperatures to stay mostly in the upper 70s for our week next week. That's a weather update from us here at the Weather Center at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's 5:15 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director, and here's what's happening. The U.S. Department of Justice agents are now having to get a search warrant before using a cell site simulator, aka Stingray device, according to the Department of Justice. Though the new policy allows for exceptions, the devices known as Stingrays trick phones into connecting to them. The Department of Justice announced on Thursday that while the department's agents have followed appropriate legal authorizations for cell site simulators in the past, effective immediately, federal agencies must now get a search warrant supported by probable cause before using a cell site simulator. The Harris Corporation's Stingray device is the most well-known brand of the controversial spying technology, which is used by the FBI, the Secret Service, the DEA, and many state and local police agencies as well. By impersonating cell towers, these suitcase-sized devices force phones in the area to broadcast information that can then be used to identify and locate users. The devices are also able to indiscriminately collect and intercept data from hundreds of phones at once. The new policy does allow federal agencies to skirt those rules in the case of what they describe as dire emergencies, such as when agents are attempting to avoid a death or injury to keep a cell phone or other device they are tracking from being destroyed, or when a pursued criminal is in danger of escaping. Agents will then be required to note how many times those exceptions are used so that they can be part of an audit, which will occur at a later date. Probably annually, by the way. The policy says that federal agents cannot collect content from phones, including email, text messages, or GPS data, but they can monitor the general location of a tracked device. All data gathered and used to locate a device must then be deleted as soon as it's located, or no less than once per day. The cell site simulator technology has been instrumental, they say, in aiding law enforcement in a broad array of investigations, including kidnappings, fugitive investigations, and complicated narcotics cases, says Deputy Attorney General Sally Quillian Yates in announcing the new guidance. The new policy ensures our protocols for this technology are consistent, well-managed, and respectful of individuals' privacy and civil liberties. The guidance only applies to federal law enforcement, not state or local policing agencies, which have increasingly turned to Stingrays, not just for high-profile terror plots or other major criminal cases, but also for just routine police commitments as well. These devices are extremely controversial. We've been talking about them quite a bit on my show, which is Digital Drive, right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. So be sure to tune in for that here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and of course here on hotnewstalkradio.com as well. You know, we've got a ton of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. We've got Daybreak USA, we have the David Tulis Show, we have the Mr. Judd Show. My show's Digital Drive. We talk about technology and quite a bit more. Laura Ingraham is also on Hot News Talk Radio, and Sean Hannity. Keon Rose is on with Clutch, his sports show. And Hot News Live at 5, Cowboy with Tex, America Now, Ground Zero, Coast to Coast AM, and a plethora of other shows on the weekends as well. So be sure to keep it tuned here, Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com. The U.S. Coast Guard used aerial observations of the Mississippi River on Friday to try to determine the location of more than 120,000 gallons of oil that spilled after two towboats collided, prompting the closure of that part of the river. More than 30 vessels were backed up along the busy waterway by midday Friday as cleanup crews tried to locate the clarified slurry oil that leaked into the river. A flyover of the area meant to help determine the extent of the cleanup. And they say we're doing the overflights to get a better idea of where most of that oil is to see what we can recover, if anything, says Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer Bobby Nash. The collision Wednesday evening near Columbus, Kentucky, damaged at least one barge carrying the slurry oil. The cargo tank ruptured, causing tens of thousands of gallons of oil to spill into the river, the Coast Guard said. There have been no injuries reported. The river was closed from mile markers 939 to 922, according to Petty Officer Laura Ratliff. The barge was carrying approximately 1 million gallons of oil, but the breach was only in one area, affecting just one of its 6 tanks. They have them partitioned off, according to Ratliff. The tank holds 250,000 gallons, and Coast Guard Lieutenant Tequila Powell said a little more than 120,000 gallons spilled into the river. So that's the Mississippi River as of now. So quite a bit of oil spilled into the Mississippi River, and a flyover is attempting to help locate that all. We'll bring you more updates on that of course, right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, as soon as we find out more. Lindsay Hall was packed earlier today, or rather earlier yesterday, I should say, when Marco Rubio was there. A Chattanooga crowd packed the Lindsay Street Hall for presidential candidate Marco Rubio on Thursday afternoon. Former Congressman Zach Wamp, the statewide Rubio chairman, helped build the frenzy with a spirited introduction, saying, "I believe in him 100%, he said, a 44-year-old junior Florida senator. The candidate stepped onto the stage of the former church just after a call with his 10-year-old son on the topic of homework. He told the crowd about his parents coming from the island of Cuba in 1956 and living the American dream. Although they did not have prestigious jobs, he said, the United States is the only place in the world where people like them could ever have a chance." This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. You can download the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone and search for us on the TuneIn Radio app. Just search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is also on Twitter, where you report the world decides. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Don't forget all the great programming. We have Cowboy with Texas up next here on Hot News Talk Radio. He's going to be talking about his run-in with the city government, asking him to remove something that perhaps he never had in the first place. Well, don't take my word for it. Listen to Cowboy with Tex right here on Hot News Talk Radio from 6 to 7 every weekday right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. 92 is what we're seeing for our temperature here right now in the Chattanooga area. 69 is the low and 91 is the high. Tomorrow, 91 will be the high and 68 is going to be the low. Not going to be a very good day for doing yard work. Going to be really hot. Sunday, 87 is the high, 67 is the low. We're expecting rain. Next week, highs in the mid-80s and lows in the upper 60s. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Social media, we're on that. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Download the TuneIn app and follow us anywhere at any time. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
Here come the Volunteers. It's football time.
It's football time. It's football time in Tennessee.
Join Coach Butch Jones and Team 119 as we kick off the 2015 season in Nashville against Bowling Green State University, Saturday, September 5th at 3 p.m. in Nissan Stadium. Tickets and stadium parking are still available by visiting NashvilleSports.com/Vols. That's NashvilleSports.com/Vols.
If you have the DTs, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and get 10% off.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's 5:24 here at Hot News Talk Radio. Here's Mike Wood with Hot News Talk Radio's Fast Traffic Now.
Trouble on 75 North, Russell, between the 24 split and East Brainerd Road right now. Another accident, 75 North, right around Shallowford Road as well. We're working 2200 Macaulay and South Lyerly right now with an accident. One on East 49th at English Avenue, Old Lee and Old Cleveland Pike, South Willow and Anderson Avenue, and Macaulay and O'Neill Street as well. Busy afternoon for us. The T-Dot Smartway cameras, not too bad. 75-24, not bad. A busy spot, though, right now is going to be across the old Johnny, and also 75 north of the Uruguay exit. That's pretty thick right now as well. Get the gig from EPB Fiber Optics. The whole family can run Wi-Fi internet devices at the same time. You don't lose speed. You don't lose performance. Good for streaming videos or gaming. 648-1372 or visit epbfi.com. Mike Wood, the traffic center here. Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
5:25 is the time here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director. Here's what's happening. We're getting more information out of Illinois about investigators in the shooting death of Police Lieutenant Joe Glinowich, I believe is how you pronounce. And it turns out that there's quite a bit of surveillance videos for clues in the slaying of the Fox Lake veteran, officials are saying today. They say, we have images of people whom we believe are subjects, and they want to review that information. They say we'd be interested in talking to those subjects, says Lake County Major Crime Task Force Commander George Filenko, describing the footage as a mix of videos from residences and businesses. When a reporter asked whether the subjects are two white men and a black man, the only description the police have released of the possible killers, Filenko said at a news conference, there's a commonality there, and there's an interest in those videos. The videos are in the hands of the FBI now, which will then sequence them in hopes of coming up with a chronology, according to Filenko, I should say. The potential evidence does not include footage from a home security video system that was apparently pointed at the area of the shooting. That was in the area of the shooting, just actually during the shooting's occurrence. Any video in the area could help authorities determine who shot this officer on Tuesday morning. The officer had described via radio 3 men he encountered shortly before that shooting. A homeowner in Fox Lake, a community of about 10,000 people in northern Illinois, turned over his video surveillance after telling police that he saw 3 people in the area, according to Filenko. Local investigators don't have the proper equipment to see the recording, so the footage was given to a nearby Department of Homeland Security office, and the police hope to learn what it shows soon. Filenko said to Aaron Burnett that the person who recorded the video said that there were 2 white men and a black man walking past the camera. He said that the video was recorded in the area where the officer was killed. So they're still examining that audio and video. So there's not been any sort of conclusion yet, but that's still being analyzed. As soon as more information comes out about that, we will certainly let you know right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com. We're also looking at what's happening out of Kentucky in national news. A jailed Kentucky clerk is asserting that the marriage licenses issued Friday to gay couples in Rowan County are void because she did not authorize them, according to her attorney. Attorney Matt Staver of the Liberty Council said that the licenses are not worth the paper that they are written on and promised to appeal the contempt order that sent clerk Kim Davis to jail on Thursday. Staver met with Davis in jail on Friday, and she's in very good spirits. He didn't know how long she would be jailed for, but he said that she has no intention of resigning and that she will not violate her conscience. At least 3 gay couples received marriage licenses on Friday in Rowan County, embracing and celebrating when one of Davis's deputies handed them out. And so a crowd of supporters cheered as the couple left, and a street preacher was also there. The licenses were issued only after 5 of Kim Davis's deputy clerks agreed to hand them out. The lone holdout from the office being her son, Nathan Davis. Her office was dark on Friday morning, with a sheriff's deputy standing guard in front of it. The marriage licenses in the county usually have Davis's signature on them, but the ones handed out on Friday did not have any signature. The county attorney and lawyers for the gay couple said that they are legal and valid despite the lack of signature, although that's not quite clear. U.S. District Judge David Bunning was asked during Thursday's hearing about the licenses if Davis refused to authorize them, and he said that it was up to the couples to take that chance. A second couple, Timothy and Michael Long, were also issued licenses, and a third couple, April Miller and Karen Roberts, were also issued licenses. So quite a few licenses have been handed out, but the validity of them is still being questioned. But we'll bring you more updates on that right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. You can get the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is also on Twitter, where you report the world decides. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. There are autopsy results now that are showing that an Ottawa man was shot 13 times after a police chase. Autopsy results have found that Brent Price Pickard, who was 46, was shot 13 times by deputies. A medical examiner ruled his cause of death to be the result of multiple gunshot wounds. The preliminary examination was not available to determine how far away officers were when they fired. However, the report shows that Pickard was hit in the head, the left shoulder, the torso, and the right arm. A spokesperson for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office officially released the names of the deputies involved on Wednesday as Sergeants Greg Carson, Sergeant Spencer Daniels, Deputy Adam Ty Williams, and Deputy Eric Baxter. The four were involved with the August 26th incident that was initiated by a domestic disturbance call. Pickard led deputies on a chase that ended with a crash on Highway 153 in Hickson. Deputies say that Pickard was armed and pulled his gun following the crash, and that's why they reportedly fired. All four officers were placed on mandatory administrative leave according to department policy and have since returned to active duty. The Chattanooga Police Department is investigating the incident and has not released any further information, citing an ongoing investigation. So the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office deputies are involved in that shooting, and we'll certainly keep you updated on that right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. As it is now, there's an internal investigation that's still ongoing, but the autopsy results have come out showing that the victim in this case was shot 13 times. The deputies are claiming that he pulled a weapon, but there's still an internal investigation going on. 5:32 is the time right now here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Looking at the weather now from the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center, where it's about 92 degrees right now in the Chattanooga area. 69 is the low for tonight. We're actually seeing temperatures getting down into the lower 70s in the early morning hours. Tomorrow, they're going to be creeping back up into the 90s later on, though. Sunday, we're expecting rain. 87 is the high on Sunday. 67 will be the low. And for the rest of the week, we're seeing temperatures staying in the upper 80s and upper 60s, I should say, as well. So upper 80s and upper 60s is the margin of error that we're seeing there for next week. And we're expecting quite a bit of rain next week as well, so be prepared for that. This weekend, though, is going to be a little bit hot. Saturday's not going to be a great day for doing the weather, or doing the lawn, I should say, because it's going to be 91 for the high and very dry. So keep that in mind. That's your weather update from us here at the Weather Center at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's 5:33 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director. Here's what's happening. The Beer Board, or rather the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission, a.k.a. the Beer Board, notified the Chattanooga Beer Board of the sale of alcohol to a minor that took place at El Matador number 4, which is at 9201 Lee Highway on July the 16th. That sale was discovered during a follow-up spot to check the TABC made at the business after a first violation that occurred last year. When a second violation was found, by state law, the TABC must notify the local beer board. The beer board is then required to match at least the same penalty imposed by the state commission. The owner of the business, Rafael Arellano, did not dispute the sale, and LaDonna Colina, who's a consultant employed by the bar, said that since the infraction, signs saying no ID, no sale have been placed, as well as more training for the employees. The employee that served the drink has been laid off without pay. They say your consulting apparently isn't working, said board member Christopher Keene before requesting the owner speak for himself. Mr. Keene told Mr. Arellano that word get out that certain bars will serve minors so that they patronize those places. Board member Andre Harriman said, "Thank goodness you got caught," he says, and that it might have prevented someone from being killed by a drunk driver. By a unanimous vote, the bar's beer license was suspended for 10 days on September the 10th through September the 20th. The consultant spoke up and then asked for consideration that the penalty be reduced because the TABC suspension has already taken place and the two suspensions were not able to be served simultaneously, saying, "I count your blessings because it's a second suspension. It would be revoked in some other counties," said Mr. Harriman. New ownership for the two companies in Chattanooga, both with a large presence, requires that the new owners reapply for beer licenses under the new names, as the Bilo grocery stores are reopening under the possession of KVAT Food Stores Incorporated with the name of Food City. Managers of the individual stores will be applying for the new permits. On Thursday, 6 store managers came to the beer board meeting to relinquish old licenses and to get new ones. Fire Marshal Chuck Hartong told the board, I should say, that with the changes, checks will be made to assure that all codes are also in compliance with fire marshal codes. So the new bylaws are having to go through quite a bit of revamping to change over to Food Cities because it's switched ownership. So then licensure has to change hands as well. But we'll keep you updated on that here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and of course, hotnewstalkradio.com as well. There's a retired canine unit dog from the police department here in Chattanooga that we're getting an update on. The Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond has placed Hamilton County Sheriff's Office Deputy Donald Myrick on administrative leave with pay, pending the outcome of an internal affairs investigation that's currently underway. Retired police canine was found abandoned at the same home where a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy was evicted. The retired canine named Falco was removed from same location where Deputy Donnie Myrick was evicted. The HES seized Falco on August the 17th for unacceptable living conditions. The Humane Educational Society first got involved back in May when a concerned neighbor notified Deputy Myrick and noticed that Deputy Myrick had moved out, but his retired canine officer was still caged out in the front yard. As he said, "I have not seen this here since I have been here, and I have not seen it honestly around the country," says HES Director Bob Citrullo, saying, "Where it was something where someone let the animal go that long like this, it's not the norm." When the HES first met retired canine officer Falco, he was living in a cage outside of the North Dent home. Deputy Donnie Myrick told the agency that he was making daily trips to feed and care for his former partner. Myrick told HES that he had to move out and was trying to find Falco a new home. He's saying in the beginning the owner was trying to definitely find a place to put him where he could be cared for by somebody who understands the canine's behavior that has this type of training, Citrullo said. But months passed and Falco was still caged. The HES then checked on him again in August and took pictures and video of his condition, and that's when they decided that Falco needed better care. The dog's coat was in a poor disarray. There were leaves and it was wet, and the dog's house had broken in half, so water ran in and was coming into the doghouse, Citrullo said. Deputy Myrick never responded to the impound notice tagged on Falco's cage, and days later, Myrick signed over his rights to the dog during a work-related police call. And it happened that one of our officers was on the scene when he was involved in another situation, said Citrullo. So our officers talked with him and said, "Hey, we want to follow up with you, and we've taken the dog." So the dog has now been seized from that abandoned home where a deputy was evicted, and it appears that the dog is going to be in much better care now, according to these reports. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is also on Twitter, where you report the world decides. It's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And we also have a ton of great programming, I should say, right here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have Daybreak USA from 6 to 9. The David Tulis Show is on from 9 to 11 a.m. And 11 to noon is Eric Judd's show, the Mr. Judd show, I should say, right here on Hot News Talk Radio. 12 to 1 is Digital Drive. 1 to 3 is Laura Ingraham. 3 to 5, Sean Hannity. And what you're hearing now is Hot News Live at 5. After this is Cowboy Protects right here on Hot News Talk Radio. He's going to be talking about a run-in that he had with the city government that was not very positive at all. He'll be talking about that in just a few minutes here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. Boeing has already has the Dreamliner so far, and now it has the Starliner. The aerospace giant has announced the name of its future space fleet today. More than 200 people, including Florida Governor Rick Scott, NASA and Boeing officials, and a bevy of former astronauts, gathered at NASA's Kennedy Space Center to celebrate the grand opening of Boeing's new commercial crew and cargo processing facility. Once a space shuttle hangar, the transformed building is now going to serve as home to the Starliner. Its first launch with a crew to the International Space Station is targeted for the year 2017. Until Friday, Boeing's still under development capsule was known simply as the CST-100, an abbreviation for Crew Space Transportation and 100 kilometers, the threshold of space. Boeing is now one of 2 private U.S. companies contracted by NASA to transport space station astronauts from Cape Canaveral. SpaceX is the other company, and it's developing an enhanced version of its cargo-carrying Dragon capsule called the Super Dragon. That's going to be working. That's going to be carried out at its headquarters in Hawthorne, California. NASA wants its astronauts launching from U.S. soil again, rather than hitching an expensive ride from Kazakhstan with the Russian Space Agency. That hasn't happened since the last shuttle flight back in 2011. The Starliner name was revealed by the commander of the last shuttle flight, Chris Ferguson, who's now deputy manager of operations for Boeing's commercial crew program. So the CST-100 Starliner is probably going to be seeing use by around the year 2017. So keep your eyes peeled for that. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Don't forget Cowboy with Tex, I should say, is coming up next right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. 92 degrees is what we're seeing right now. 69 is the low, and tomorrow 91 is the high, 68 is the low.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Social media, we're on that. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Download the TuneIn app and follow us anywhere at any time. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Here come the Volunteers. It's football time.
It's football time. It's football time in Tennessee.
Join Coach Butch Jones and Team 119 as we kick off the 2015 season in Nashville against Bowling Green State University, Saturday, September 5th at 3 p.m. in Nissan Stadium. Tickets and stadium parking are still available by visiting NashvilleSports.com/Vols. That's NashvilleSports.com/Vols.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report every Sunday at 9 a.m. If there's one person we can turn to explore the role debate moderators and members of the press play in shaping elections, it's legendary news anchor Jim Lehrer. Don't miss my guest Jim Lehrer this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
We've got a table here at Delia's and Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's and Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's 5:44 here at Hot News Talk Radio. Here's Mike Wood with Hot News Talk Radio's Fast Traffic Now.
Thank you, sir. 24 westbound right at Box Bay. Got some police activity on the right shoulder over there. This got us pretty slow right now. Russell, we're slow on 24 at Moore Road. Earlier accident here has got us, as we said, pretty slow this afternoon. Also, we're working Little Debbie Parkway, Collegedale, right at Jack Tate Road, Olea Highway. There are some injuries on an accident there. East Main at South Holly. Right now, Chattanooga police on the scene of that one. 24 westbound, right at the 27. That's an accident with injuries. Chattanooga Fire and Police on the scene of that one right now. 75 north at the 24. No injuries, but an accident there. It's got us pretty slow this afternoon as well, Russell. And this report is the service of the folks at EPB Fiber Optics. Gig City's only local provider of the fastest internet, sharpest HD TV. Choose two or more services and save at 648-1372 or visit epbfi.com. Make that smart move today at EPB Fiber Optics. Mike Wood, the traffic center this afternoon. Of course, we are right here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
It's 5:46 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director, and here's what's happening. There's a lot going on nationally. We'll try to condense it all for you so we can keep you informed. So far in California, there are 3 California prison guards. Of course, they're California prison guards. They're in California, who have been arrested over brutal murder of a mentally ill inmate. 3 Santa Clara County, California prison guards have been arrested now over that case, according to the county sheriff. The inmate suffered from multiple blunt force injuries as well as internal bleeding. The Santa Clara County Sheriff, Lori Smith, said, "The disappointment and disgust that I feel cannot be overstated," she says. She added that the correctional officers killed an unarmed individual that they were entrusted to protect. The 3 officers have been identified as Rafael Rodriguez, 27, Jera Lubrin, who's 28, and Matthew Ferris, who's 27. The sheriff's office is recommending that they be charged with murder, assault under the color of authority, and conspiracy, according to the San Jose Mercury News, and they are being held without bail. They're currently on unpaid leave and are scheduled to be arraigned on Tuesday. The inmate was identified as 31-year-old Michael James Tyree, and the county medical examiner, Dr. Joseph O'Hara, determined that Tyree's death was a homicide whose injuries, multiple blunt force trauma, visceral lacerations, and internal bleeding, were caused by another individual or more, according to the AP. Last Thursday morning, Tyree was found dead in his cell, although it was determined that he died the previous night. A correctional deputy was doing a welfare check, came across an inmate who was unresponsive, says Sergeant James Jensen of the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office to CBS San Francisco. He called for other deputies, and medical aid was then rendered. Fire and paramedics were called, and they announced that the inmate was deceased at the scene in that jail. The correctional officers were carrying out a clothing check during the time when Tyree suffered the various injuries documented by the medical examiner, citing an unnamed source. The Mercury News reported that the officers did not immediately report the use of force, which they are required to do, or try to find medical aid for Tyree. The officers did not state that any use of force occurred until after Tyree's body was found. Afterwards, they stated that Tyree had refused to take medication. Tyree was also scheduled to be moved to a mental health facility. A few days prior, he pleaded no contest to petty theft, according to the Mercury News. Our client was slated to be released to a mental health bed, but no bed was available, thus the reason why he was still in jail, according to Santa Clara County Public Defender Molly O'Neill to the newspaper on Thursday. This tragedy underscores the need for a greater number of mental health beds so that clients with acute mental health needs do not sit in custodial facilities, which are not therapeutic, when they have been ordered to be released. And to help review of official policies, Sheriff Smith said that she's requested assistance from the FBI, the San Francisco Chronicle says. So Paula Canny, who's the attorney representing Tyree's family, said that Smith's response so far has been rather impressive, Smith being the sheriff in this case. If more information comes out about these deputies, or rather these guards, these correctional officers, we will certainly let you know here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com. We're bringing you information coming in out of Illinois as well, where investigators in the shooting death of Police Lieutenant Joe Glinowich, I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly, will be reviewing a hodgepodge of surveillance videos for clues in the slaying of the Fox Lake veteran, officials said on Friday. They say, we have images of people that we believe are subjects that we'd be interested in talking to, said Lake County Major Crime Task Force Commander George Filenko, describing the footage as a mix of videos from residences and businesses. And so as of now, a reporter asked when whether the subjects were two white men and a black man, the only description that the police released so far of the possible killers. Filenko said at a news conference, there's a commonality there, and there's interest in those videos. The videos were in the hands of the FBI, which will sequence them in hopes of coming up with a chronology. Filenko says the potential evidence does not include footage from a home security video system in the area of the shooting that the commander on Thursday described as significant. But we'll keep you updated on that here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com as well. Also out of Kentucky, lots of national news today. A jailed Kentucky clerk asserts that the marriage licenses issued Friday to gay couples in Rowan County are void because she did not authorize them, her attorney says. Attorney Matt Staver of the Liberty Counsel said that the licenses are not worth the paper that they're printed on and promised to appeal the contempt order that sent clerk Kim Davis to jail on Thursday. Staver met with Davis in jail on Friday and said that she is in very good spirits. He didn't know how long she'll be jailed for, but he said that she has no intention of resigning and she will not violate her conscience. At least 3 gay couples received marriage licenses on Friday in Rowan County, embracing and celebrating when one of Davis's deputies handed them out. William Smith Jr. and James Yates, a couple for nearly a decade, were the first to receive a marriage license in Rowan County from one of the deputy clerks, although again it has not been signed off on by the clerk. U.S. District Judge David Bunning was asked during Thursday's hearing about the licenses if Davis refused to authorize them, and he said that it was up to gay couples to take that chance, and several other couples have gone to get their marriage licenses as well. Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee said that he would visit Davis in jail next week and plan to rally to support her. Davis says that she hopes the legislature will change Kentucky laws to find some other way for her to keep her job while following her conscience. But Democratic Governor Steve Beshear again refused to call a special session of the legislature on Thursday. State lawmakers are not going to meet until January on this particular issue. Yes, you heard that right, January. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. You can check us out on the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone. Just search for Hot News Talk Radio on the TuneIn Radio app, and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is also on Twitter, where you report the world decides. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Keep it tuned here. We're going to bring you updates on what's happening in Kentucky, Illinois, and California, all right here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have a ton of great programming here as well. We have Daybreak USA. We have the David Tulis Show. We have the Mr. Judd Show. We have my show, which is Digital Drive, all right here on Hot News Talk Radio. We'll talk about technology and quite a bit more. We have Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Clutch with Keon Rose, our sports show. Cowboy with Tex is up next here on Hot News Talk Radio. He talks about, the day's events. He's also going to be talking about what happened to him regarding the city. You see, the city has, accused him of something that he hasn't actually done, and in fact is asking him to remove something which he may not, in fact, actually have. And we'll bring you updates on that here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. His show is up next right here on Hot News Talk Radio from 6 to 7. A fired regulator in California is saying that the governor pushed him out to waive oil safeguards. Governor Brown fired the regulators on November the 3rd, 2011, one day after what officials says was a final order from the governor to bypass provisions of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act to grant permits for oil field injection wells. Brown later boasted publicly that the dismissal led to a speed up of oil field permitting. In a newly filed court declaration, Derek Chernow, Brown's former acting director of the State Department of Conservation, also alleged that former Governor Gray Davis urged fellow Democrat Brown in a phone call to fire Chernow and Elena Miller, the state's oil and gas supervisor. Brown's spokesman, Evan Westrup, labeled the allegations as baseless. The expectation clearly communicated was and always has been full compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act, Westrup said on Thursday. This year, however, the state acknowledged that hundreds of the oil field operations approved after the firings are now polluting the state's federally protected underground supplies of water for drinking and irrigation. Of course, it's worth noting that the state of California has already had quite a few problems with finding water for drinking and irrigation. Bringing you the weather here from the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. 92 is what we're seeing right now here in the Chattanooga area, and temperatures are going to be dipping down into the mid-70s tonight. 69 is the low for tonight, though. Saturday, 91's the high, 68's the low. A little bit overcast, maybe seeing some sprinklings of rain. Sunday, we're expecting rain. 87 is going to be high on Sunday. 66 will be the low. Into next week, we're expecting rain throughout the second half of the week, but during the first half, 87 will be the high, and we're seeing highs continuing in the mid-80s throughout next week and lows in the upper 60s. So keep that in mind if you're going to be traveling. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. That's a weather update from us here at hotnewstalkradio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
5:55 is the time here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell, the news director. Here's what's happening. Autopsy results are showing that an Ottawa man was shot 13 times after a car chase. Autopsy results have been obtained by WRCB, and they're showing that Brent Price Pickard, who's 46, was shot 13 times by deputies. A medical examiner ruled his cause of death to be the result of multiple gunshot wounds. The preliminary examination was not able to determine how far away officers were when they fired, but the report shows Pickard was hit in the head, the left shoulder, the torso, and the right arm. A spokesperson for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office officially released the names of the deputies involved on Wednesday as Sergeant Greg Carson, Sergeant Spencer Daniels, Deputy Adam Ty Williams, and Deputy Eric Baxter. The four were involved in the August 26th incident that was initiated by a domestic disturbance call. Pickard led deputies on a chase that ended with a crash on Highway 153 in Hickson. Deputies say that Pickard was armed and pulled his gun following the crash, and that's when they reportedly fired. All four officers were placed on mandatory administrative leave, according to department policy, and have since returned to active duty. The Chattanooga Police Department is investigating the incident and has not released any further information, citing an ongoing investigation, but the autopsy has shown that he was shot 13 times following a car chase, and again, deputies claim that he had pulled out a gun following that chase. So an internal investigation is still ongoing. Civic political leader Maybelle Hurley has died at the age of 87. She was the first woman to serve on the Chattanooga City Council. Ms. Hurley was also a longtime advocate for the arts and a leader in United Way. She was a leader in the Chattanooga venture that led to the redevelopment of downtown and the riverfront. She most recently served on the library board as well. Arrangements will be by the Heritage Funeral Home. She was a graduate of Bright School and Girls Preparatory School. A statement from the United Way said that United Way of Greater Chattanooga volunteers and staff are deeply saddened by the loss of a dear friend and loyal supporter, Maybelle Hurley. Maybelle's life was one of service to Chattanooga and United Way. She was the first female community campaign chair in 1988 and served as a board chair in 2004 to 2005. And she was also served on the board many more years and on numerous other committees and advisory panels as well. So the city of Chattanooga has lost one of the very significant political leaders from our area here in Chattanooga. And it appears now that a warrant is now required for a stingray device to be used. And of course, constitutionally, a warrant has always been required, but that's beside the point. U.S. Department of Justice agents now have to require a search warrant before utilizing a cell site simulator. The department said, this is the Department of Justice, although the new policy allows for exceptions. The devices known as stingrays trick phones into connecting to them. The Department of Justice announced on Thursday that while the department's agents have followed appropriate legal authorizations for cell site simulators in the past, effective immediately, the federal agencies must now get a search warrant supported by probable cause before using a cell site simulator. The Harris Corporation's Stingray is the most well-known brand of the controversial spy technology used by the FBI, the Secret Service, the DEA, and many state and local police agencies. By impersonating cell towers, the suitcase-sized devices force phones in the area to broadcast information that can then be used to identify and locate users. The devices are able to indiscriminately collect and intercept data from hundreds of phones at once. The new policy does allow federal agencies to skirt those rules in the case of dire circumstances, such as when agents are attempting to avoid a death or injury to keep a cell phone or other device that they are tracking from being destroyed, or when a pursued criminal is in danger of escaping. Agents will be required to note how many times those exceptions are used so that they can be a part of an audit that'll be placed at a later date. We're not sure when that later date will be. The policy says that federal agents cannot collect content from phones, including email, text messages, or GPS data, but they can monitor the general location of a tracked device. All data gathered and used to collect a device must then be deleted as soon as it's located, or no less than once per day. That's according to these reports. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. You can listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.